waves crashing, and right now it's really quiet. The sea is like glass, low tide, so it's a good time to have a little chat. And you know, I'm going to start a list of a series, I should say, of miracles I've witnessed and miracles that have been submitted to me that have been documented. Um, Miracles that have happened in my body, which I've alluded to a few of them already. One of them was after the plane crash. You know, I mean, I broke my neck, my back, my hip, my leg. Um, didn't even know my leg was broken. Both bones of my left leg were broken from being impacted in the wreckage. Um, they didn't tell me because I was paralyzed from the chest down at the hospital. And then when I started moving around and was able to walk and stuff, they never did check me again. No more X-rays, no test, no nothing. Oh, you're better. Okay, you know, it's kind of the attitude in Guatemala. And so, excuse me. Uh, I'm gonna cut that part out. Um, so when it comes to what happened after the plane crash and getting back to being able to walk and getting back home was an ordeal um, that I won't talk about this morning. But when I got back home, they took me from the airport off the tarmac right to the hospital, and they did a full workup, head to toe, X-rays. Checked me out really good, and about midnight released me and sent me home. And a couple of days later, I get a call from the hospital asking me if I'd seen the orthopedic surgeon yet. I said, why? And they said, well, didn't they give you your referral? I said, referral? No. All I got was the discharge papers, the bill, which was outrageous for one night in the ER. And I said, no, I didn't. Nobody told me anything. They just told me I could go home. So I got up and I went home. I said, well, what about the cast on your leg? I said, what cast? They didn't put a cast on my leg. And I heard this gasp like, oh my God, malpractice and all of that. Your leg is both the bones in your lower leg are broke. The tibia and fibula are both broke. And I said, nobody told me. They said, didn't you notice? I said, well, yeah, it was throbbing and kind of painful, but, I had so many other pains, you know, in my neck and my back, my shoulders, my ribs were pulled out of socket, my hip was pulled out of socket. Um, I mean, the X-ray shows a crack going through the hip, and I didn't know if that was. Well, I guess it was broke. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I saw the X-rays, and nobody told me that that was a problem. So I was walking. I was limping, not terribly, but I was limping. And she's like, "Oh my God, like big screw up. Nobody gave me the instructions to be referred to a surgeon to have it repaired. Nobody had given me any, you know, wait here until you get your cast, then you can go. I mean, none of that. So they really screwed up. Top hospital in the area. And so I was out. And so I got a referral. And 2 days later, I got in and saw the orthopedic surgeon. He took x rays again and compared the two x rays. And then he looked at me and he said, so what happened? I mean, how did it happen? I told him. Plane crash. My wall was impaled and a giant wall of wreckage was all twisted up. It was behind me. Other leg was in front of me, turned the wrong way. And I remember his face. He's just like disbelief. He's like, well, it's been almost a week and a half, plus the time you were down there, almost 2 weeks since the accident. He said, if you're walking that good, I guess take it easy and, you know, we won't put you in a cast. And what I didn't tell him, that the day before I saw him, that he told me my leg was in fact broke from the original x-rays, which was a week after the accident, because the original x-rays in Guatemala, I never got to take those. But the confirming x-rays, the second x-rays, mouth of, one or two witnesses, both x-rays showed both bones were broken. One was crushed, I mean, splintered and just crushed. The other one was a clean break. And I didn't tell him that the day before I went to see him, my friends had contacted me and took me out golfing. and they knew how much I loved to golf, and were just so thankful that I was still alive, and wanted to hear some stories on the golf course as we shared that, and I love the nature, and I love golf as a game, not as a distraction, but as a therapy, for your brain. And if you can't see God in nature, then creation gives him glory, gives evidence to the Creator. So anyway, we played golf, and if you know anything about golf, if you're a right-handed swinger, your left leg is planted and it doesn't move. And you rotate right and you swing back, and all your body weight goes and you swing up on that left leg. I mean, you're literally bowing that left leg right where my leg was broken. And it was a little bit tender, but it wasn't that bad. And I played 18 holes of golf. And I shot worse than I normally shoot, but that's because my distance wasn't quite as long. My ribs were still hurting bad. I had 3 ribs pulled out of socket. It went back. And like I said, my hip was dislocated, and they put it back in Guatemala. They put my leg back in the right position and stuff and popped it back in. But 2 weeks, 2 weeks after a plane crash, 2 weeks after, all the things I'd been through, yes, everybody else was dead except for, 6 people in the last row, and then me, which was, drowned under jet fuel for 3.5 hours. But when I came back to home and got top professional care, they couldn't explain how that could be possible, how those bones could heal in the span of a few days. It was about, I think the total was 4 days from the x-rays in the hospital, the x-ray at the doctor's office, at the osteopath, or the, not osteopath, the orthopedic surgeon. And he was expensive too. But, I wanted a very good doctor and a very good opinion, because that's what I see doctors as. That's what I see medicine as. It's confirmation of his power. Medicine does nothing but adjust your symptoms. It doesn't heal. Doctors will admit that. If you corner them, no medicine heals anything. It just creates conditions where the body is not gaining further infection, or the body is, not so uncomfortable. Here they say uncomfortable. But it's medicine has got a purpose, and surgery has a purpose. And, you can repair something surgically, but it doesn't heal until the body heals it. The Creator created this body, and he's the one that heals it. And so when I say miracle healing, or, sometimes it's zap. I've looked into a guy's eyes, 70 years old, just like milk, couldn't see since birth, was born blind. And I watched it just turn gray, dark, and then all of a sudden he started blinking and shook his head and saw me. And, I saw it. I saw a guy get healed from blindness. I've seen it many, many times. I'm not talking about walking down the street and see that. I'm talking about scattered out over 28 years of ministry in 20 countries. I've seen a lot. And I've seen blind eyes open. I've seen people deaf from birth defects. I've seen twisted limbs healed. I've seen a lot of things. So nothing was shocking me at this point in my life. And I was 40 years old. Yeah, I was 40 years old when that happened. 67 now. So, man, I can't believe it's been 27 years since that occurred. But yeah, my bones broken, crushed, documented. And then 3 or 4 days, healed up so good I could play golf. And after the round, we gathered around the car and talked and chatted and stuff for another couple of hours, because these guys were pulling testimonies out. Well, how was this and how was that, and what happened here and what happened there, and there's a lot more I could talk about. Everything about. I tend to be a laser gap informer. Get to the end of the story, and then go backwards, maybe an illuminate or fill in some blanks, or if you want to know and you want to chew on the flavor of the steak, not just swallow it. Because we should relish and cherish and savor and meditate on the goodness of God, and on the miraculous power that he has, that he spoke a word and everything was. He speaks anything and it is. And because of that, when you've seen it, when you've experienced it, you can forget, you can doubt, the enemy can come in and try to sow so much business in your mind that you just can't remember anything. So sometimes slow down. and take a minute and reflect on your own miracles in your life. Things that should have gone different, but they didn't. Who controlled the timing? Who controlled the place? Who controlled this? So that's another episode of biblical testimonies, landing on your feet, the goodness of Abba, our Creator. I just want to wish you guys a good day. Shabbat Shalom. This is Yoki with Phi Bite. I'll see you next time.